Hello, my name is Adam Florence. I'm a culinary arts instructor at Thompson Rivers University, and today we're going to make the classic Italian dish, potato gnocchi. First thing I want to do is preheat my oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I want to try and remove as much moisture from the potato as possible, so using a high heat will help me to achieve this. Next, we want to weigh the potatoes. I ended up using a russet. The scale I had only went to 3 kg, so I ended up adding 1 more kg to give me a total of 4 kg all day. Very important, we want to make sure we wash the potatoes thoroughly. We're not quite sure what they've been in contact with from when they were harvested to when we receive them, so making sure that they are clean is key. Next, pierce. By piercing and puncturing the potato 3 or 4 times with a knife, we allow more moisture to be removed during the cooking process. And load into the preheated oven and set your timer for 2 hours. I also use convection on this oven. By using convection, this also helps to remove some of the moisture. Then want to grab a large pot of water and to it add salt. Basic rule of thumb for cooking any pasta is make it taste like the ocean. I'm going to add some canola oil. This will form a thin layer when the potatoes are removed or the gnocchi is removed from the boiling water, causing it not to stick together. Some of the tools that we're going to need are a serrated knife, a spoon, cutting board, offset spatula, a dough cutter, some forks, parchment paper and sheet pans, colander, and a 2-ounce ladle. You could also use a food mill or a ricer. I find this much more efficient. For each 500 grams of potato puree, we end up needing 6 grams of salt, 2 egg yolks, and 130 to 150 grams of flour, depending on the moisture content of the cooked product. I also added some fresh parsley, rosemary, and thyme. It's not needed, but it's a nice touch. After the 2 hours have elapsed, I then go about cutting all the potatoes, getting them ready to be scooped. Here we see all the potatoes cut, ready to go. Again, after the 2 hours, the skin on the potato is quite firm and crispy. That's how you know that they've been cooked well enough. I then go about scooping all of the pulp from the potatoes into the colander, where I pass it through with the 2-ounce ladle, giving me an even consistency free of lumps. So, with just over 4 kilograms of raw russet potatoes, I end up with 1.5 kilograms of potato puree. So I end up adding 6 egg yolks, 18 grams of salt, and the herbs. Using a fork, I bring the mixture together to give me an even consistency. I want to make sure I do this before I add the flour to avoid overworking it and developing gluten. Then adding the flour, I use my fork to bring the dough together. I don't want to work the dough too much, so again, by using the fork, I can just start to get it to come together before I end up using my fingertips to push the flour into the moist potato puree, making sure that I don't overwork it. Try to avoid kneading at all necessary. I then cut the dough into more workable portions, where I can go about rolling it out into a cylindrical prism on a lightly floured surface. Here we see all of the gnocchi formed into cylinders, ready to cut. Using my dough cutter, I'm able to cut the desired shapes of the gnocchi. Here we see all the gnocchi cut and ready to be shaped with the fork. So again, using some flour and a fork, I lightly press down on the cut side of the dough. This gives me the desired little pillow shape. Notice the little lines or grooves that have been formed in the gnocchi. This will help with sauce adhesion later in the cooking process. Again, maximizing my flow and direction, I want to work from one side to the other, making sure that each gnocchi has been shaped with the fork. I then slightly scrape the gnocchi onto a sheet pan, ready to go to be cooked. We want to make sure that your water is boiling rapidly at this time, and we use small batches. If we overcrowd the pot, the gnocchi will end up sticking together and not cooking properly. We know the gnocchi is ready to be removed from the boiling water when it floats to the top of the surface. Here we see the gnocchi cooked, ready to be cooled down in the refrigerator on a sheet pan. After it's cooled down, you can put the gnocchi into an appropriate container. It's firmed up now. The eggs have coagulated and the flour has also helped to firm up the product. Making sure that we label, date, and initial our product. It then goes into the refrigerator where you can use it in your favorite gnocchi dish. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and hope that you know now how to make gnocchi.